Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people, welcome to Freedom Friday here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am so grateful to be connecting with you today as we continue our journey into mindfulness and presence this April. This month, we're exploring on how being fully present in our lives, aware, awake, and engaged of what is happening right now. How it can transform everything from our relationships to our creativity to our inner peace. And today we are focusing on something powerful, how mindfulness creates true freedom in our lives. We have such a rich week of conversations already, from the basics of mindfulness on Tuesday to Dennis Henson wisdom about small daily actions on Wednesday, to yesterday's exploration on mindful boundaries. And today we're bringing all it together to understand how present moment awareness liberates us in ways nothing else can. But before we get into this topic, let's take a quick break, all right? It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here on the Season of Self-Love podcast, and we'll be right back.
Ready to transform how you think about love and mental health? This May, join host Nyomi Banks and Dr. Will Washington and expert guests on Love and Mental Health, a powerful 4-part series exploring relationships through the lens of mental wellness. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Ask Nyomi, Bridging the Gap. Do you have a story to share? Your experience matters. Email us at asknyomi@gmail.com and be part of the conversation that's changing lives.
Hey, it's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, and make sure you tune in every Thursday night to Ask Nyomi, Bridging the Gap podcast, where we talk about everything from love, sex, relationship, cultural differences, and so much more. We're bridging the gap between them all, and we even talk about spiritual uplifting. You need to stop by. Me and Dr. Mike, as well as the BTG crew. We have some amazing guests that come through. You never know. Just make sure you tune in Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to asknyomi.com and tell them Nyomi sent you. All right, my beautiful people. So before we dive in, let's ground ourselves with a brief meditation to help us to arrive in this moment together, all right? So if y'all can close your eyes if you can, and take a deep breath in through your nose. I want you to hold it for a moment. Now release it completely through your mouth. I want you to feel your body exactly as it is right now. Not as you wish it would be. Not as it was yesterday, but as it exists in this present moment. I want you to notice of any sensations without trying to change them. Now I want you to bring your awareness to any thoughts that's passing through your mind. So instead of getting caught in their stories, just notice them like they're floating clouds across the sky. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that notices them. Now I want you to bring your attention to any emotions present for you right now. I want you to feel them in your body without judgment. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. Give yourself permission to experience it in fully without needing to fix it or change it. Now expand your awareness to include the space around you, the sounds, the temperature, the quality of light. Be here fully in this moment. Now with your next breath, I want you to feel the spaciousness that comes with this present moment of awareness. I want you to feel how when you fully are here, that you're free from regrets about the past and the worries about the future. This is freedom that's available to you in every moment. I want you to take one more deep breath in, drawing in this freedom. Yes. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes, bringing this awareness with you. All right, my beautiful people, if you are new here to the Season of Self-Love, there's something we do every day, Monday through Friday, just to help ground us before we get into our topic. All right. So, when I think about freedom, I think about what Dr. Will has said on our conversation on Monday about comparison culture, right? He talked about how many of us struggle with defining ourselves based on how others treat us, rather than from our own internal knowing. And he reminded us that true freedom comes when we stop living according to other people's stories about us. That really resonated with me because I've discovered that one of the greatest freedoms of mindfulness offers is liberations from the stories, both from other stories about us, about me, about you, and the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and what we are capable of. You see, when we are truly present, we step out of the narrative and into direct experience. We move beyond the labels, the judgments, and the limitations that our mind creates. And we discover that in this moment, this exact precious moment, that we are already free. You see, I've experienced this in my own life, especially during those challenging times. Again, when my vertigo was at its worst last month, I noticed how my mind would create elaborate stories about what it meant. This is going to keep me from my work. I'm never going to feel normal again. This is a punishment for pushing too hard. I went through all of that. But when I started to practice mindfulness, when I simply observed the physical sensations without the story, I found the freedom even in the midst of discomfort, that I can be with what was happening without adding layers of meaning and suffering on top of that. How many of us do that? How many of us have a situation happen and before we know, we created a whole drama series in our head from a particular reaction from someone, from a conversation, from a meeting, or just from a simple feeling, or I do not feel well today. For me, mindfulness, especially in these past few months, even weeks, I really had to remind myself, it's time for you to, come on. You got to take that time, that moment, that share. That's about self-care with you. And self-care for you, that's about self-love. It's okay to take those moments. It's okay to take that time. It's okay to set those boundaries for yourself. So let's talk about what does freedom through mindfulness actually look like in our daily lives? And how does being present liberate us? First, what it does is mindfulness, it frees us from time prison. If y'all can see me right now, I'm waving my hand because I was in prison. I have been in time prison for over 52 years. Yes. Most of our lives, we are caught between regrets about the past and anxieties about the future. We replay old conversations, wishing that we said something different, or we worry about upcoming challenges before they even arrive. You see, this time traveling mind keeps us from experiencing the only moment that we've ever actually have. This one. This moment right now. This one. So when we practice mindfulness, we break out of this prison. We recognize that that past exists only as a memory. And the future is only as an imagination. The only reality is what is happening right now. And in its recognition, that's profound freedom, if you really sit in it. I only can focus on what's happening right now. Second mindful frees us from reactivity. How many times have you said or done something in the heat of the moment that you later regretted? To reacting. You see, I said reactivity. Yeah, about you reacting. How often have you reacted automatically rather than responding thoughtfully? Mindfulness creates a pause, a space between simultaneously responding and a response where freedom lives. So in that space, we can choose how we want to engage, rather than being driven by our old patterns and triggers. You know, as Dennis Henson reminded us on Wednesday's show, he said small, consistent practices create big transformation over time. And I actually yesterday, or was that Wednesday, I wasn't feeling too well. I had a nice little vertigo outbreak that went on. I say vertigo like it's a disease where bumps and all, but I had, got very dizzy. My head started hurting, like everything started happening. But right before that happened, I remember sharing a post. And in that moment, I said, so let me tell you where that post came from. You know how you can feel an onset of something coming. And that's at that moment I was feeling an onset on a dizziness was coming. And so I did a nice little breathing exercise that I was doing to help to bring me in this moment right now. Because I know what triggered it. It was me going further in the future. Well, actually, it was me overanalyzing a conversation that I had with a business call. And so in that moment, it had triggered. So I kind of pulled back and, kind of did a deep breath in, a breathe in 4, a hold for 4, and then a release through my nose for 6. And I did that several different times. And in that moment, what popped out to me was take one scoot at a time. You know how we say take one step at a time? Sometimes that one step can be overwhelming to us. And so I said, right now, when you stopped in that moment and you took that did that breath, that was a scoot. That was a scoot. And so in that scoot, I got a little further. And so I had posted that up on social media that day. But what it did, it helped me in that moment, saying that I don't have to take a step. I can scoot. I could do a nice little scoot when I feel it, or I could take a big scoot when I want to. Instead of the step, I just recreated the scoop. I just recreated the scoop. Okay, and the third mindfulness is about, it frees us from comparison. So like Dr. Will discussed on Monday, our comparison culture can trap us in feeling of our own inadequacy or superiority. But when we're fully present, we step outside of that comparing mind. We experience life directly rather than measuring it against others' experience or even our own expectations. So in presence, we discover that we are enough exactly as we are in this moment. Not because we achieve some external standard, but because our worth is inherited rather than earned. That realization is deeply liberating. Deeply. I want to be real with you about something important. Mindfulness isn't always comfortable. Sometimes being present meaning facing feelings or situations we rather avoid. Sometimes it means sitting with uncertainty when we crave certainty, or embracing discomfort when we prefer comfort. But here's the paradox of it. When we're willing to be present with what it is, even the difficult parts, we find a deeper freedom than any escape could provide. We discover that we can handle more than we thought, that we are more resilient than we believe, that even pain can be transformed through the light of awareness. See, this reminds me of something that I observed in caring for my mother. When I resist her condition, when I was resisting her condition, when I wished things were different or to try to force it to be how she used to be, I suffered. I suffered, and so did she. Because there was a lack of communication, there was a lack of, man, if I can tell you what that first few months of that year looked like, because I was living in the past, I was living in the future, but I wasn't looking at what the fact was right in front of me. I wasn't looking at that. When I tell you I was doing everything possible, like I was trying to cure it my damn self. And that's a man. I was seeing my mother before in the state that she probably years or a month, years away from, I ain't gonna say much, years and years away from that state. And then I had to kind of look and listen, wow, hold on. That's why when I say the season of self-love, this podcast, me deciding to do this podcast, it came right on time, because you know what it made me do? It made me truly do the work. It made me truly do the work. When I chose to do this was before my mother's diagnosis. So it's like God already knew what needed to happen for me, for my mother, for my family. And like I said before in the beginning of this year, I'm just a vessel. Not only am I going through, but I'm sharing what I'm going through. And I'm telling you the actionable steps that I did to get through it that day, in that moment. And maybe it can help you. And the thing is, I can go back to that tool that I learned from that. So everything that I've been through, I thank for it. I am so thankful for it. But just talking about that right now, I just think about it like, ooh, that was some hard time. Man, if I tell you, I remember calling my auntie in tears, not understanding it. She didn't understand it either, because we all was pretty much new to this. Even though my grandmother had it, there wasn't a one-on-one feeling. I would see my grandmother when I came into town and sit with her for, an hour or two and giggle and laugh. And, but I wasn't a caregiver like my auntie was, my other auntie was. She was there every day with her, so she knew what that looked like. I didn't. But I see it now. And what I do is I enjoy her in the now. I don't think about the past and what rules and laws she gave me and what she said to me or what I think she should be doing in the future and how it should be. I'm accepting and enjoying her in the presence now. I take those deep breaths and be in the now with her. I don't wish things were different anymore, because when I get to wishing things are different, that means that I'm not honoring what's happening in my life right now. Yeah, I said it. When you wish for things, for me, I am not honoring what's in my life right now. So by me practicing mindful presence, I meet my mother exactly where she is in each of her moments. There's a freedom with that. It's even a joy that emerges between us. And when I say, girl, I see so much light in my mother's eyes. She laughs. She loves music. I never knew she loved music like that. I knew my dad did, but my mother, to be very honest, she seems so much freer now. And to see that, that's amazing. That's amazing. And that's why when I say that this was a gift for us, it was. Because my perception, I can see it totally different now. I can. Because I can't change her condition. But I can change how I relate to it. And that's the freedom that mindfulness offers. Not always freedom from the circumstances, but it's freedom on how we experience them. Now I want to share with you 3 simple practices that can help you to experience this freedom through your mindfulness in your daily life. First, the freedom pause. Throughout your day, especially before responding to something challenging, take 3 conscious breaths. With each inhale, I want you to feel yourself creating space. With each exhale, I want you to feel yourself releasing reactivity. This pause gives you the freedom to choose your response rather than being driven by habit. And a second reality check. When you notice yourself caught in worry or remembering the past, I want you to ask, what's actually happening right now? Not what might happen, not what should happen, but what is literally happening in this moment. And I want you to notice how bringing awareness to your current reality often reveals that you are already safe. You are already okay. You are already free. And here's the third presence. The presence of anchor. I want you to choose an ordinary activity that you do every day, whether it's brushing your teeth, washing dishes, taking a shower, or commit to doing it. And I want you to commit with doing it with presence. Feel the sensations, notice the details, be fully in the experience without your mind wandering to other things. And I'm like, for real, Naomi? Yes, be in the mirror and just brush your teeth, whatever that feels like for you, and be in that moment. This is where you can be eye to eye with yourself. Or you washing dishes. How does that water, that towel, or however you wash, how does that feel on your hand? How does those bubbles feel twinkling on your skin? What does that moment feel like? What does that moment feel like drying those dishes, putting it? What does it feel like having a clean kitchen? Y'all understand what I'm saying? Is exactly feel the sensation, notice the details, be fully in the experience without your mind wandering to other things. So let me tell you something. For me, when I clean, so many ideas come to my mind. It really does. It is truly amazing on when I finish cleaning, whether I'm washing dishes, cleaning my room, my bathroom, or around, I can sit down and write down all the ideas that I have. My mind just keeps running. It just goes. It goes. And it's funny, you're like, but Nyomi, that's not mindful. But for me, that is where I get all of my downloads. Because even though I'm washing dishes, I'm not thinking about nothing. But then that is where my mind is the clearest. And that is when I can hear. Does that make sense? Yeah. So these are some simple practices that will help you experience the freedom that's always available through present moment awareness. They help us to break out of that thought patterns and that emotional habits that keep us feeling trapped or limited. Now I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about mindfulness and freedom. The fear that being present means giving up or change or improvement. Some people worry that accepting what it means but settling for less than they deserve or desire. But that's a misunderstanding of true mindfulness. Being present doesn't mean that we have to stop setting goals or working toward positive change. It means that we engage with that process from a place of awareness rather than anxiety, from presence rather than pressure. When we're mindful, we can hold both acceptance of what is and intention for what could be. We can recognize that this moment is complete exactly as it is while still moving forward with what we desire. And this isn't a contradiction. It's not. It's like us dancing with a conscious creation. We just in there. You know, in my conversation with Dennis Henson on Wednesday, he talked about how small, consistent actions create massive change, right, over time. So what I loved about his approach was that it wasn't driven by a dissatisfaction with the present, but by a vision for the future. And it wasn't about rejecting what is, but about building on with awareness and intention. That's the freedom that mindfulness offers as well. Not freedom from desire or action, but freedom from the suffering that comes when we reject our present reality. When we can fully inhabit in the moment while still moving forward with our vision, we experience both peace and purpose. And that makes that we are both free and that we are empowered. And here's what I discovered in my own journey. The more present that I am, the more effective my actions become. So when I am fully here and aware of what's actually happening, rather than caught in the stories about it, I make clearer decisions. I connect more authentically. I create more powerfully. I am more powerful. And my presence becomes the foundation for meaningful change rather than an obstacle to it. So as we wrap up our first week exploring mindfulness and presence, I want to offer a freedom practice that brings together everything that we explored. This is something that you can do this weekend to experience the liberation that comes through present moment awareness. I want you to find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed, and you will need your journal in about 20 minutes. Step 1, we're going to call this the freedom check-in. I want you to close your eyes and ask yourself, where in my life do I feel confined or limited right now? And I want you to notice what arises. Maybe it's a relationship dynamic or a work situation or a personal habit or an emotional pattern, and I want you to write it down. Step 2 is story awareness. For what you've identified, write down the story that you're telling yourself about it. What meaning are you attaching to that situation? What are you believing about yourself or others because of it? And I want you to get it all on paper without censoring. Put the curse words in and do it all. Be your voice. Say it. Step 3, reality grounding. Okay, I want you to separate observation from interpretation. What's exactly happening in this situation? I want you to strip all meaning and narratives away. What are the bare facts that anyone would agree upon? And write those down. Step 4, present moment freedom. I want you to close your eyes again, and I want you to bring your awareness to your body and breath. I want you to feel yourself here, now, and safe in this moment, regardless of what challenges that you may face. And from this grounding presence, I want you to ask, what's one small step or scoot that I can take from a place of freedom rather than fear? And I want you to write down what comes up. And then the last step, step 5. And this is a commitment to presence. I want you to choose one mindfulness practice from this week episodes that resonate with you. And I want you to write it down, specifically how and when you'll practice it in the coming weeks to strengthen your capacity for present moment freedom. All right? So these practices that it will help you to experience on how mindfulness liberates you from your limited stories, from your limited beliefs. Remember, we let that go last month. And to connect you to the freedom that is always available to you in the present moment. All right, my beautiful people, as we complete our first week of exploring mindfulness and presence, I want to express my deepest gratitude for walking this path with me. Your presence, your comments, your shares, they remind me that we're not walking alone on this journey of self-love. And next week, we will continue our exploration of mindfulness by focusing on how it transforms our relationship with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. We're discovering how being fully present is the greatest gift that we can offer to those that we love. This weekend, I invite you to practice the freedom meditation that I shared earlier and experience on how being present frees you from limiting stories and connects you to inherent worth and wisdom. Notice even small moments of your mindfulness that it creates space of freedom in your daily life. I want you to remember, mindfulness isn't about adding something new to you, to your already full life. It's about showing up differently for the life that you already have. It's about discovering the freedom that's always available when we step out of our stories into the direct experience of this moment. You already have everything that you need to be free. Your presence is the key that unlocks your door. And before we end today, I want to remind you that our Year of Rebirth workbook has powerful exercises for experiencing freedom through mindfulness. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on Instagram on the Season of Self-Love podcast for daily inspiration and to join our community conversation about presence and freedom. Thank you again for being a part of this journey. So until next week, remember to love yourself fearlessly. Breathe into the present moment and discover the freedom that has always been waiting for you right here and right now. Have an amazing, amazing weekend. Have a good one. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer. Have a good one.